Welcome to another edition of Serenity Winz, where even the aliens listen to the show. Hey, welcome everybody. Yeah, that's what it's like. It's called a low budget production, but hey, there's a lot of heart into that. So I spent a good, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes doing the sign. I asked a friend, she's supposed to do me a sign. So, obviously it'll be an improvement. But I'm really glad to be here today. I have so much to share. Quite a week I've had anyway. I hope you guys all had a great week. And so first of all, let me just say that we're going to be changing the format a little. For those of you who've been watching me on YouTube, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I've gotten some, 2 hours kind of long, and I just figured they just press the pause, whatever. So now we're going to bring it down to like an hour an episode. That's right. You only have now 60 minutes to listen to Serenity Winz right here on AM FM. Do they still make that? AM, FM? Not sure. So right away, let's get out of the gate with, I am not officially sponsored, affiliated, or any of the likes with any organization such as Alcoholics Anonymous. This is my podcast. This is my creation. This is from little old moi, as I always say. And I just want to share my journey as a recovering alcoholic and sure, poke some fun at myself once in a while, but also really talk about some of the great things that are happening within the movement and some of the tools that we have at our disposal. And hey, if you just want to have someone talk and listen to, you're at the right spot. So first of all, let me say I'm really happy to be here today. I had a wonderful day. I just found out right today that I'll be doing what they call the reception. Hey, fine girl. Oh, I had to say that. She on TikTok. She's like, hey, fine girl. All kidding aside, I found out today that I'll be sharing a very, very important responsibility. And within the movement, when a person joins and they go into a meeting, an open discussion meeting, actually, it's not an open discussion, it's an open meeting. The first thing they have to do is, like I did, like everyone goes through that, is to admit that we have a problem, and we stand up and then we walk and we talk in the microphone when there's a microphone, and we kind of talk a little about our experience. And so there's one person that greets that person. They actually, they call them the welcoming committee. I don't know how they say it in English. Obviously, I don't go to English meetings. But in French, it's l'accueil, la 12e étape. It's a 12-step. And I've been proposed today to be one of two to do that reception for a year. And to me, that's a huge responsibility, but also it's a huge honor because I've seen what the program does. Hey, welcome, FM version. We were just talking about FM radio. Yeah. So it's such an important task to greet the first person that comes in. And I just want to give back. L'homme d'Ottawa! Ooh, yeah! By the way, I'm fully bilingual. Je suis parfaitement bilingue. Fait que si tu veux me parler en français, si tu veux m'écrire quelque chose en français, go for it. I am there for you. And it's a huge responsibility from my point of view, and it's also an honor, and it's also my way of giving back, to contribute back, because I've been in a movement now for about 2 years. And all the benefits, all the gifts, they talk about the promises that you start receiving, and it is so true, so true. And I just want to give back. So for me, it's an honor to do that reception of the new person. And sometimes it's a person that's already been in the movement for a while, but they kind of relapse, right? Because that happens. That's it happens. Some people, they can relapse like 10, 25, 60 times, whatever. Some people relapse, but it doesn't matter because eventually it sticks. And I was sharing today with my godfather, because in French we say le parrain, right? It's a godfather, but in English it's called the sponsor. So he's my sponsor. He's my friend. I can really call him my friend now. I learned so much from him, And I was sharing with him how I kind of walked in backwards into the movement. I walked in thinking, oh, I don't need AA. I already stopped drinking on my own. And I did. I had stopped for about maybe, 3, 4 weeks. And I do believe a miracle happened for that to happen. Beyond the miracle, about 3, 4 weeks went by and I was like, okay, all my friends drink a lot and I don't want to drink anymore. Where can I go and meet some people? And so I went to a first AA meeting, felt very awkward, very much like a fish out of water. But I stuck with it. I stuck with it for about a year. And finally, a year later, I realized, okay, this is my place. This is where I belong. And now, about 2 years, I realized that I am an alcoholic and I did have issues because the expression we use often is it's 15% the alcohol and 85% me, right? It's us. It's what's going on in our heads, right? That's the reason why we started drinking or started consuming whatever, to kind of get distracted from what's really bothering us. And so now coming to about 2 years, I realized this. And so I'm really looking forward to sharing and helping others. And that's how I see it. And this podcast, Serenity Winz, with alien ships. Oh, hold on a second. You like, I think it was like, oh my God, what's that? That's a podcast, Serenity Winz. We should go and land there. No, we should land there, not go take off. We should land there. Oh, we had so much fun here. And I wish I could say that I had really thought of the spaceship. I didn't. It really started, and I said to myself, you don't have to justify yourself. I don't want to justify. I want to share with you guys. It started off, and I did the Winz, and so I had like the extra length at the bottom of the Z, but then it looked like kind of out of place, and then I just started scribbling, trying to do something, and then after that, oh, this looks like a little mountain. Oh, this looks like the sun, and then the sun turned into a spaceship. So there you go. I don't know. Maybe we'll keep that. Maybe I'll ask my friend. I said, hey, I got an idea. Aliens actually also listen to Serenity Winz, so put in a spaceship or two in there. Hey, welcome another Smith. Welcome, Clever. I got to say hello to my TikTok people because it's piling up tonight. It's like I got 42 people watching me. Woo, right on. So without further ado, right, that's my expression that I enjoy, let's talk about today's topics. Now, we did talk about the official business that I'm not officially sponsored, so that's out of the way. So there's 2 things I want to mention quickly before we get into the topic. Number 1 is last week I made some references to a famous author, and I'm not too sure, but I think I kept calling her Christine Saint-Jair, and this was a mistake. Oh no, you made a mistake. Yes, I made a mistake, and I'm able to admit it and take responsibility. Her name is actually Christiane Saint-Jair. And so when I went back looking for her exact name, I saw quite a few videos about her. So if you're interested, please do go ahead and watch her. So that's number 1. Just making sure you're still there. Okay. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you go about doing your business. I actually today I started looking how to do Christopher Walken. So we're not exactly sure how, but maybe one day you will in this crackling in a voice. All right, that's terrible. So here, for those of you who were there at our last episode, I talked about a Japanese saw, right? I actually want to take it out of the wrapping. I'm going to make sure you don't hurt yourself. No, I won't make sure. I mean, yes, I'll make sure. Oh, geez, I think it's jammed. It's jammed. Okay. This is extremely sharp, so don't imagine. I know, I don't even want to imagine. That's a terrible imagination. And then here's a saw, and then the blood gushing into the screen. It's a horror show. Yeah, no, it's not a horror show. Hey, welcome, Zach. It's like, what the fuck is that guy holding in it? It's not. It's a saw. Okay, it's a saw. It's called a Japanese saw, as you can tell. And it's even got like a little Japanese. Can I focus that on a camera? It's got like a. I mean, obviously, it's probably been. I've used it several times, so it's like there. Well, it used to be a Japanese something there, but it's not. I'm looking at it. Oh, there's a bit of dust on it. Okay. So the reason why I'm showing it to you is last week I was talking to you about it takes time, and it took me time to set up my speed bag and all the support, which, by the way, my client came, I trained him on Saturday, and we set it up, and now I just need to blow up the speed bag itself because I'm not sure if someone took my compressor pump. I don't even want to get into that. Hey, welcome, Philippe Chimio and Kasana. Yes. So I talked about last week how I needed the saw in order to cut some wedges so I could set up my 2x4 against the wall, and that on the molding at the bottom would not, so. And I said that I'd bring it back. I shouldn't say back. I said I'd bring it to show you what a Japanese saw looks like. So it's got two sides. One side, which is where the wood is in this angle, and the other side when you're cutting the wood in the other angle, right? You go with the grain of the wood or against, depending on what side you're on. And it's different than most saws that we're used to seeing because clearly it doesn't have the handle there because you're really just holding it with your two hands and you're really just, yeah. I think I know what some of you are thinking, and no, it's not. It's a saw, right? It's not what you think it is. Yeah, yeah. I could see all you perverted minds out there going, oh, it looks like he's sawing. I'm sawing. So that's the Japanese saw. And hey, who knows what goodies I'll bring you on next time and next trip. Actually, today I met a fellow member. I had spoken to you about when I had a chance to meet a friend, and he had his car, the street legal, as he calls it. And he sent me some pictures, and I wanted to show you them. And I don't know how to load it on the screen. As I mentioned again once more, I'm really open to finding a producer who can bring the show to the next level. Now, I can't bring it myself to the next level. I'm learning as I go along, which, by the way, I think in the next episode, we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about, because it's all about the watch. Where is the watch? What time is it at? So, having said that, let's get right into subject number one, which is something that particularly resonates with me, especially, for instance, of what I shared with you earlier on. So, the first subject we're going to talk about is the sense of belonging. Let me repeat that. Or as Sean Connery would say, the sense of belonging. What does that mean? Okay, just the sense. You put out a knife, the sense of belonging. That's what's important. The sense of belonging. What do you do? Well, you make sure you have the watch. Oh, man. I was laughing so much today practicing Christopher Walken. You have not only is it fun doing this show when I'm recording it, but preparing for it, it's a blast. So, and I came up with the idea because I asked myself that question. How important is that? I went to an event 2 weeks ago. I think I spoke to you I spoke a bit about it. Hey, welcome for joining in. Yes. Hi, Aggie. And as I was in the event, people that were working in a staff, one of them actually had the chain. It's like I think it's a chain, and it has like a little jewelry at the end, and it's written basically either the responsibility, which is I want to be responsible. That if someone out there, holds a hand out, the one of the AA, which I'm not affiliated with, by the way, will always be there to help them, and that I'm responsible for. It's either that or the Serenity prayer, which is, dear, whatever your power source is, most people say God, whatever. I shouldn't say whatever. I'm just saying, whatever works for you, because that's often said also in the movement. It's how you see it. So there's not one answer that's the same for everyone, as some people have different ideas of what. So, dear, fill in the blank, give me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change those that I can't, and the wisdom to see the difference between both. So I think that's very powerful. And I wake up every morning and I share that with myself and what I call him JD. And so one of the fellows serving at the event was also a member, and because he had the chain and the little locket, I was able to recognize him. And truthfully, and I was able to just talk with him because I knew, because he was wearing some jewelry that I recognize as a member. And I remember I thought, man, that is so cool. And right away, my instinct was, oh, I want to get one of those. And I think that lasted pretty much, hey, welcome, Ellie. That lasted pretty much all the evening. And then on my way back home, I was pondering on that idea, and I realized one of my beliefs many years ago was I avoid labels. Labels and identities, they limit people. I believe that. I was going to say something, but then two Italians were going to say, well, yeah, what do you mean, honestly? So I avoided the saying that. And when I started thinking about it, I realized, oh, hold on a second. I don't need to wear jewelry to belong to something. And so that got me thinking. And then today again, we were having coffee after a meeting, and I was with my sponsor and his girlfriend and two other friends. And I remember thinking, wow, this was, and I say this with humility, this was the first time that I felt that I was part of something. What? It's hard to define, but I'm part of it. And what I realized was the sense of belonging. It's not about the labels that we put on ourselves. It's not about the jewelry that we wear. It's not even about talking about it. It stems from what's inside our hearts. And that really hit me like a rock when I realized that. So I've opted, I might get a chain just to get a chain, but I certainly will not wear it to show people that I'm a member. Not because I'm ashamed to be a member. I mean, if anything, I'm doing a podcast. Phoenix is a recovering alcoholic, blah, 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 whatever. Well, he's always, blah, 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 blah. I'm actually very proud. And it was explained today in one of the sharing that even if a person had a magic wand and could take away all the pain and suddenly make them into a better person, they wouldn't do it. And the reason why they wouldn't do it, and this is a person that had just received 42 years of sobriety. We were celebrating his 42nd year, 44th? Oh, I don't know, 44, 42, whatever. He was 40 and some. All right, good. And he said, because in order to really heal, you need to have crashed and burned. It's when you've lost all hope, when you are down on nothing, and still within that nothing left within you, you make that decision. You decide. Rarely does it happen overnight. I'll be the first one to say that. Hey, welcome, Henry Z, Zach D, Yagi, Ellie. Rarely does it happen overnight. I don't want to say never because that's like, well, that's an extreme word, but it takes time. But the moment that you decide, a person decides, whether it's your friend, whether it's you, whether it's someone you love, doesn't matter, but they go to a meeting and they take those first steps and they walk up to the front of the group to receive their envelope. They call it l'enveloppe du nouveau. Oh, well, l'enveloppe du nouveau. L'enveloppe du nouveau. All right. Sorry. I got carried away once again. I guess the new person's envelope, I got to really figure out these terms. You suck, man, as a podcaster. You don't even know the terms. You're doing a podcast in English and all you say is l'enveloppe de nouveau. What the heck is all this all about? Well, you know, it's a work in progress. All right, I get it. That's cool. So, and we don't give the envelope to, you know, to put a spotlight on the person. That also has to be very clear. First of all, within the envelope, there's a little toolkit, and the toolkit includes a little quiz. It's only 12 questions, and if you answer like 4 out of them out of 12, well, guess what? You're most likely you're at the right spot. And I remember when I filled it out, I was like, oh yeah, I'll fill it out, blah, blah, blah. And then I didn't really care about it the first time around, and not even a few months ago, I took the envelope, I borrowed it, I asked, I said, you know, when the first time I went up, I just kind of shook it, probably in the recycling bin or something. I said, I'd like to actually have an envelope now for myself. And I read it and I realized, whoa, I had actually 6 good answers. 6 good answers, right? Out of 12. And I'm thinking, well, I stopped on drinking on my own. I don't need that. But and it was great because this afternoon, today, someone also received, and, you know, they also shared, no, actually they shared, they shared their experience, right? Because you share your experience. And they mentioned how they had stopped also on their own for a few months or a few weeks. So I'm going, oh, I'm not the only one. So it's also for us to be able to walk up to you and say, hello, welcome. If you need anything, I'm there. If you want, take my phone number down. Because it's hard. It means someone who's been drinking all their life, or even consuming for that matter, suddenly to be told that they have to stop, it's hard. It really is hard work. But the benefits and the gifts that you get are priceless. I can't even begin to explain the changes that I've been feeling in the last 2 years. And I think this is the reason for this podcast, is to make this come across, but in a fun way, you know? So people decide they want to listen, they want to be entertained. That's good. But once in a while, I get a bit serious like this. Yes, this is my way of being very serious. It's my way of just breaking kind of like the ice or whatnot. So that sense of belonging, it's important. Why is it important? Because you understand that you're not alone. You understand that others, number one, also went through what you're going. And number two, you will have others to talk to. Others that have been there. They know your story. We know your story. We know what it's like. We've been there. And so what I was alluding to was a sense that you don't need any form of symbolism. And I'm talking about, you know, being part of a movement that helps people, you know, recover. Hey, welcome Milana Fitness. Yeah, do some boxing. Oh, bam, bam, bam. Welcome Amikun Gidze. Trying to say that properly without sounding like an idiot. But this goes, I mean, welcome Princess Candy. This goes way like all over, right? People want to belong. People need a sense of belonging to a political party. People need a sense of belonging to a social class. It is a human natural condition, And I know because, Carl Jung talked about that. And if you permit me, I know the camera will still be on. I'm going to see if I could find. No, the computer crashed earlier on, and I no longer have access to that. But I'll just type it in again. Be patient with me, Carl. Okay, it's already there. Boom. So what he explained was, oh, man, Jonesy, oh man, sense of belonging. Okay, here we go. Boom. Excuse me. I'm learning as I go along. And he wrote, that a true sense of belonging is a paradox. While the human need for connection is intrinsic, one cannot belong fully to others without first belonging to one's self. And I believe that. I believe that thoroughly and with my heart. And the reason why I believe that is the same reason why I don't have any tattoos. I don't have any tattoos. It's the reason why I decided not to get the chain that has the prayer or whatever. Because although belonging is nice, you also have to belong to yourself. And I mentioned tattoos because it just seems that everyone has a tattoo. Like everyone has a tattoo. Like everyone has a tattoo. Like almost everyone has a tattoo. And I think that perhaps somewhere down the line, either they thought it was cool, either they this, either they that. I know some people go through events and then they decide to get a tattoo, but when you have a full body filled with tattoos, those are a lot of events that happen suddenly. So the act for me of not getting a tattoo, well, number one, I just believe, I'm getting more and more spiritual, but even beyond that, I mean, I just think it's putting poison in our body. Now, I'm far from being an expert. I don't want to piss off anyone. What do you mean poison in my body? I have all these tattoos. Oh, okay, good. And because I was able to, kind of raise myself, and I did crash and burn and I did heal from that, I'm able to say, no, thank you, no tattoos for me. And maybe research in a few years from now will say, hey, by the way, did you know what was in the ink? And they're like, oh, I had no idea. And they'll be like, well, there you go. Now that's jumping ahead. But belonging is a natural condition. And someone mentioned to me, they said, not only is belonging important, but the sense of defending that belonging. And that's where we get extremists. That's where people really get. I remember a few years ago, I had a short stint into politics. And so I would, speak to people about it. They had asked me to be the deputy leader of a federal party. And at one point, this was around the time also that famous Mr. Trump started making his appearance. I'm just saying, if you understand, you won't want to fight. You won't fight. Fighting is not good. But fighting came my way a lot. Some people, literally, some university students had threatened to beat me up because I shared my appreciation for Donald Trump. Granted, it was a few years ago. I'm not sure where I stand with him right now, but I'm also aware that he's just a puppet. Hate to break it to you, but he's just a puppet. He's a real good puppet because everyone thinks he's in control, controlling the strings and everything, but he has so much to learn. I also met someone else this weekend who said, I'm tired. I don't want to fight anymore the system. And I shared with her, I said, it's not about fighting the system. You have education, right? Because she declared herself or said that, she was like a conspiracy theorist. So I said, no, you're simply educated. You took the time to read the information for yourself. But what's more important is not about fighting the system. It's about showing by example. So if you just, for instance, go and you read the ingredients at the grocery store, and if you can't pronounce what's in there, or if you don't know what it is, don't buy it. that's already going to make a huge difference. Even just little old you will make a huge difference. So that sense of belonging, people will defend nail and tooth. And, and my short stint in politics proved that. And, you see how people can get so carried away because they need to belong. They need to belong to the right wing, to the left wing, to the center wing. It's all the same. But that sense it's also what drives the fear. It's the fear in people, the fear of belonging. They're like, I need to belong or else And I know because for the longest time, I was going to say honestly, but I didn't. I did not sense that I belong anywhere. And I say this, is there a little sadness in that voice? And it's a challenge to do a podcast because, people are going to hear about it at one point or another. But I really, in order for me to make this podcast, I have to be authentic. If I share my journey as a recovering alcoholic, then perhaps every now and then I'll share some of the pain buttons that I suffered from. And I got over, by the way. I fixed myself. I healed. They say the most dangerous man you'll ever meet is the one who healed himself. So there you go. I'm dangerously good. I smile because it's true. What can I say? It's true. So I felt ostracized from my own family. Yeah. To be real, that's how I felt. And for many years that haunted me until I figured out, well, the day that you grow or the day that you begin to fully love yourself is the day when you no longer need anybody. Hey, welcome, Fabs, Norma. And it sounds dramatic at first, but if you think about it, it's actually quite serene. Because when I'm good by myself, then when someone else happens to come along, we're good together. And we never know what the future holds. But if one day something happens and they leave or something happens or whatever, then I'll still be good because I'm already good with myself. And that's something we hear a lot within the movement. People talk about dependency on alcohol, but then there's also the affection dependency also that kicks in. And I also went through that period way back many years ago, but I went through that and I understood it. And a dear, dear, dear friend, I haven't spoken to her in a long time. I'd really love for her to watch the podcast. She said to me, the moment that you realize that you're well with yourself and you don't need anybody else, that's when you truly begin to love yourself. And those words, they resonated with me. And I'm so grateful that she shared that with me many, 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 many years ago. All right. Shout out to Aurelia. If you're there, if you haven't listened to the podcast, thank you for those wisdom words a few decades ago. So the sense of belonging, make sure that you understand what it's about and that you're not an extreme too much towards one side or another. It's the sense of being balanced. And I think that with a balanced sense of belonging, you'll see that life will be good. Hey, we're up to the 30-minute mark. So now we're going to change subjects altogether. And we're going to go on to topic number 2, which kind of sticks to topic number 1. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll figure it out. I just want to say quickly hello to Heather Hicks. Hey, BBO, Norma Laurie. Wow, we're already up to 80 eyeballs. That's pretty cool. Hello to Aurel Morin. Oh, that sounds French. But bonjour, I am the French. Did you know that they canceled Pepe Le Pew? For those of you who know who Pepe Le Pew, he was a skunk. He was a French skunk, and he was kind of very hands-on to the female bunnies and the female cats, but we all have a good laugh because it is a skunk. We don't expect it to be a real person. But now cancel culture said, oh no, the skunk. Wait. The skunk is too forceful on the pussycat. This is terrible example. Insanity, man. It's just what is going on when the cat and the skunk are not able to cohabitate together. Now you remove the skunk and the cat and the pussy. I'm just saying, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. So, yeah, Pepe Le Pew, the French, but that's how it is now. All right. So that's my shenanigans about that. So let's get into topic number 2. And before we do, a word from our sponsor, which, by the way, I'm not officially sponsored by any official organization. I am not affiliated with, once again, any official movements such as AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, or any of the like. Although I am in a process of producing a live event podcast, which I would tour, and we will have sponsors then at that moment. Hey, welcome, Camille. Right now, as of such, this podcast is all from my little creation in my head and then sharing and whatnot. And so quite a few members said, just make sure that people don't associate you or your concept with any form of, anything from New York or AA. Or I'm saying, okay, well, I get that. I get that. I do get that. All right. So we're not sponsored by AA. So let's get right into it. Topic number 2, how to reduce our ego. Yeah, that one came to me. I was on a Monday. I was in a group discussion. And on Mondays, for those of you who don't know, I do not speak. I do what I call a vow of silence. It's a personal thing I started doing quite a few years ago now. And I really enjoy doing it. Now, what it teaches me mostly is how to listen. Because what happens is when a person speaks to you, very often you'll be hearing what they say. And as you're hearing what they say, you got a little tape recorder in your head that's already thinking of an answer, an opinion, maybe it's a suggestion, maybe you want to help them, maybe you want to let them know that you care. Whatever it is, you got that little tape recorder that's waiting for them to finish speaking. And at the appropriate pause, you will now then go and say, moving your lips, what you want to say. Now, on my silent days, that tape recorder is literally turned off because I know even if I wanted to share something, hey, welcome, Anthony Silva. Even if I wanted to share something, a suggestion, an idea, I won't because it's my silent day. So I really get to appreciate what active listening is all about. And when I was at that discussion meeting last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about the ego, reducing the ego. Because one of the major issues with alcoholics or whatever you want to call them is our ego is so big, right? We're like, I'm going to do just fine. I don't need you. How dare that fucking cop going to give me a fucking ticket? Didn't need to do that. But yeah, right. Which is our ego. It's pure ego. Which, again, I'll often say it's important to have an ego, but sometimes it's, as they say in French, c'est démesuré. C'est démesuré. C'est trop mesuré. It's too big. It's too big to mesurer. Yeah. So when I was in the discussion, listening, of course, because I wasn't speaking, uh, I realized that by not talking, another one of the events that takes place within my two ears, party in my brain, is that I naturally reduce my ego. The sense of wanting to say something, to show up, to one up, as they say. Although I believe I've already I rarely do that, but even on a small, minute scale, that sense of your ego needing to say something. Maybe now I want to sound like I'm a wise person, or maybe now I want to sound like I'm a very sexual person, or maybe now I want to sound like I'm an intellectual. Of course, you all know that I'm far from being an intellectual, but or maybe I want to sound like I'm up with the news, and you also rare know that I don't watch the news, so I have no idea what's going on. While that is true, once in a while the ego kicks in. So I realized that through the exercise of listening and of not speaking, I naturally reduce my ego. And it got me to question, what else can we do to reduce our ego? And this is the part where, people can join in and give in their thoughts. And with 100,000 viewers, they'll be like, yeah, we got all these answers. But now I'm like kind of by myself on that one. And truthfully, I like to make these podcasts improvise, and I have a sense of the topic. I don't always have the answer. And the reason why I don't always have the answer, I think that's just, it's being real. I ask questions, and perhaps when you listen to the podcast, you may have an answer. And by all means, if you do, feel free to send me, in the comments, share and say, hey, I think I have this idea. But right now, the only one that I personally use is that sense of when I don't speak on Mondays. And maybe the other one too that comes to mind as I touch my face, actually it's more my forehead. Okay, I'm thinking. I got that thinking position. If you're just listening to me on YouTube, I got like that, that brain thinking. Breathing. Yeah. I'll admit, breathing is a very good technique also, especially taking that breath. When you hear that information that just sets you off, or you're like, your ego's ready to quit your job, like you're ready to tell your boss to fuck off. I'm doing my own censorship. You're telling your boss, no, maybe that's not work. Anyways, the fuck. What'd you do yesterday? I was in the podcast, man. I think the guy is like, all right. So when you get that, it could be your girlfriend setting you off. It could be your kids. Yeah, sometimes children do that. It could be the store owner, whatever it is. Just before we're about to explode, if you just inhale and take a deep breath, and then it may not entirely reduce your ego, but it will definitely deflate your justification for whatever it is that you are planning to do. And that, I confirm, it's happened to me. Belladonna, welcome, Belladonna. I recognize that name very much so. Welcome to Serenity Winz podcast, episode number 7. So, by taking that breath, there's a detachment that takes place. And that detachment is just that split second that you need to perhaps reduce, slow down, maybe even stop the ego that's about to take place. So it'll save you from telling your job to, or, telling your girlfriend to, or, whatever it is. Maybe even reaching for the bottle, because that happens too. Our ego, we're like fed up. We're like, I don't want this anymore. How dare you know what? I need a drink. How often did I say that? How often did I come back from work and say, I need a drink? It happens. And it's really just psychology. We've just been programming ourselves like that. I need a drink. In reality, you don't need a drink. You need to detach yourself. You need to find a way to detach yourself from that situation. You need a way to reduce your ego. It's your ego telling you that you need a drink. In reality, you don't need a drink. Perhaps you need a glass of water. Water is good. Hydration is always good. Alcohol is just going to add to whatever it is you're feeling. Temporarily, you might feel a little, I feel a little better now, but it's just a matter of hours before you crash and burn, either because you've consumed way more than you expected, either because from there you went into some white powdery stuff, either from there you went from white powdery stuff to your car till you got stopped by the police. It happens. It really does happen. You just get one of those bad lucks. And I don't want to say JD forbid, but you don't to be the cause of someone's detrimental, to be the cause of someone's injury or even worse, their death. I mean, and I know some of you may be thinking, "Oh, I only leave around the block. I just, anything happens. You're driving, the deer flies across, and you want to swerve, and then next thing you know, bam, you hit the carriage with the baby in it and the mother." Yeah, I am putting that little long silence. I want that to resonate, and all of that because you thought you needed. Excuse me. I have a throat thing. I need a glass of water. Which, by the way, I've calculated. Hey, this show is brought to you by water. I could look for sponsors in water. Oh, that's genius. I actually called. I started making phone calls, and I wanted to reach out to Sober Carpenter, which they do a very good, although now I'm at the place now where I no longer need to have fake beer, if you want to call it that. But when you're first starting off, I think maybe it's something that helps people. And then at one point, your mind just clicks and you go, I don't need the fake beer anymore. I don't need that. I don't want that. I don't even want the remote sense of putting any kind of poison. Because even though if there's no alcohol, there's still poison in that. Long story short, I was looking forward to them to perhaps sponsoring the live event. And when I called to their head office, I found out officially they've been bought off by one of the major brewers of a microbrasserie here in the province of Quebec. Suffice it to say, I've decided I will no longer be asking for their services. For obvious reasons. I'd be like the biggest hypocrite. Hey, I'm doing a live events podcast here by Serenity Winz. That's right. We're sponsored by the biggest brewery in town. Yeah. They want to make sure that everyone drinks Sober Carpenter, but hey, they're probably going to be selling other beer at the same. Yeah, so can't do that. Odie 77. Why do I have a feeling that I know that person? That would be really cool if it's the Odie that I think it is. So I didn't even bother following up on that. Maybe I should, because it gets me to practice and do, kind of my thing. Like, hey, I'm doing a podcast. I'd really like to, have you guys. But at the same time, look, I'm sure the people from Sober Carpenter are wonderful people. And thank you for, by the way, creating that beer. And you're probably no longer there with the company. And if you are, well, that's great too. But I would certainly feel like a hypocrite to be produced or sponsored officially by a company that is also a brewing company. To the point where the other day, I love belt buckles. Oh my goodness. Where does the time go? Time goes by so fast. Okay. To the point where I love belt buckles. So I've been collecting them for years. And at one point, before I joined the movement, of course, I had a Heineken belt buckle. I just like it. It's green. It's like once in a while green. It's even got a little bit of paint on it. I don't know how the heck I got the paint on there, but it doesn't want to. Oh, it's when I used to work in the kitchen. We used to resurface kitchens, and that's why it doesn't go off, because it's like shellac or something. Ah, darn it. So I wore it to a meeting, and I was also the person that was talking about the literature. And someone commented on it. They said, "Hey, what are you, clown? You wearing a Heineken belt?" So right away, I responded very calmly. I said, "Hey, by the way, they make a great 0% beer, right?" Which was kind of like whoosh, slipping and sliding right there. Whoosh. And I realized, yeah, okay, maybe. But as far as I'm concerned, it's part of my collection, and I love belt buckles, so I'm probably going to wear it again. By the way, when the women, I was gonna say, when the women joined my pad, no, what it was. So before, no, not yeah, before I joined the movement about 2 years ago, just a little before, I met a sommelier, une sommelière, the people who do the wine test, whatever. So suffice to say, I drank some pretty amazing natural wines too on top of that. So they were really like none of that stuff they put in there. What is it? I don't even remember the word anymore. They sulfites. But the bottles themselves were really nice. They were like collectible items, or at least I think so. And so I still have the bottles, not because they remind me of the days when I used to drink, but just because to me it's just like art. And so now I have them displayed in my kitchen on the top of the shelves and whatnot. And that's all right, because hiding from your past doesn't mean you're healed. If you try to hide everything from the past, well, clearly you still have some issues. I think it's the reason why I'm able to go to karaoke bars or restaurants, where people serve alcohol, because I really just decided the poison stays away from my body. I don't want the poison in my mind. I don't want the poison in my body. So, and I do admit though, last time I went, there was a weird vibe. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was, but there was something. There was something there. I can't explain. It was the weird of the weirdest. It was something that I just can't explain. And I left early. I left very early. And a friend of mine that was there too, she felt the same thing. So we left early. It still means that, when I go somewhere, if people are partaking in consuming alcohol, I'm certainly not going to tell them to stop, and I'm certainly not going to judge them, because, hey, I was there myself. If one day they decide, they will do it on their own. Once they do it on their own, the great news is they will be accompanied. You will be accompanied. You will have so many people with you, helping you along. It is incredible. Some girl today said, she goes, I came here alone, and now I have an army of friends. I myself am starting to have friends I never thought I could have, because I'm a little strange like that, And so the power of belonging and the sense of reducing our ego, it's really something that if you haven't done it yet, you should probably explore. I only got a few more minutes left because we were doing the shorter format now. Oh, by the way, for those of you wondering, I do have the drumsticks. I have the drumsticks because... Oh, hold on, that didn't sound too good. I actually had to move my stuff around to make sure because I said I'd have the drumsticks, right? So now... No, is this better? All right. I'm not the world's greatest. Yee! Hey, Tiff, welcome. Oh, thanks. I just learned today how to just accept compliments. And so thank you for saying that. That's kind. Oh yeah, it's not about the drumsticks. The drumstick was more like the introduction. Introduction to the quote of the day. Oh, it's better. Okay. Enough of the drumming. So the quote of the day. Uh, there's not even a quote of the day. It's just a quote because now that I'm doing podcasts here and there, and it's recording here and there, it's like, yeah, So today's quote: "Do your sing voice is so good." Oh, thank you. Yeah, I guess I don't do that as much anymore on my podcasts. Thank you. That's very kind. I love to sing. I'm in the process now of learning a new song. A few new songs actually. Maybe once in a while I kind of sing a few harmonies here and there, but I think I'm on a mission. And it's literally a mission because when I was sick in my bed, without getting into the long details about it, uh, about 2 years ago, and I had asked my higher, power. Maybe he's also helping me sing. I don't know, but I said, you know what? If you help me get through this, I'll be a better version of myself, and I will spread the word. I literally said, spread your word. And so eventually on TikTok, I had a short channel called The Jesus Channel, which was all about if Jesus was around, what would he really say? And although it was fun, I was poking humor at quite a bit of stuff, something I lacked direction. And then finally, Serenity Winz came along. I understand now. Maybe it's just me, but I understand part of my purpose. And the podcast certainly feels right. It feels like it's the right thing to say. Yes, amen to that. So, without further ado, let me read today's quote. Not on fire. No matter what is going on in my life, no matter how hard things seem, I can always find something to be grateful for if I just look hard enough. That really resonated when I read that today, which, by the way, it's actually June 24th. I think it was yesterday, or no, we're the 28th. Oh, it was a few days ago. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It really resonated with me, particularly because a few months ago, I went through quite a bit of transformation. Some of you may or may not know, but I broke up with a girlfriend. And I found myself kind of jumping from one place to another, trying to find a place to call home. And at one point, I think you could say that I was homeless, but it lasted one evening. But one evening, I packed all my things into a motel room, and I slept in that motel room. And and I don't want to say the stereotype, but when that little Asian girl saw the door open and she saw all my things, and she said it in French. She goes, "Ah, il y a trop choses ici, trop choses ici." Simply said, she said, "There's too many things here, too many things here." And I'm literally inside panicking, going, "Oh no, don't worry, I'll fix it by tomorrow. You'll see it. It won't even show." I mean, I literally had my mattress up against the wall. I had like boxes all over the place. I had like these plastic bins way out it was just packed. It was insane. Plus the colleague of work just had helped me to move the stuff I had backed up in my truck, and it was snowing. It was just like, ah. Well, you shouldn't say poor me simply because I learned so much. First of all, I learned really the meaning of resilience. And I don't want to say that to send out energy into the world. Like, oh, why don't you test me now? But it's certainly, well, yeah, it was snowing. Oh, yeah, that was a few months ago. And I'm in Canada, Quebec to be more precise. So there's a lot of snow. So and I remember when I was telling the owner about my situation. Don't worry, there was desperation in my voice, like really, no tears because I'm a guy, right? I don't have tears, but desperation. Like the last thing I wanted her to say, "Oh no, forget it. You not stay here. You take your things and get out." No, of course she wasn't going to say that. Or at least I don't think so. Turned out the next day I was in communication with a person, owner of a property, wasn't sure what he was doing with it. He said, "Look, maybe I can help you out a few months. I don't know what's going on here, but with the property, but turns out whatever he had going fell through, didn't happen. And so here I am, and I got this wonderful studio, well, part of the studio. Thanks for the accent. Yeah, I love making accents. So even at that point where I was out of luck, like literally living in a hotel room, a motel room. Thank you. I'm working on the lighting. We're getting better at the lighting. I have to communicate with my people on TikTok, by the way. That's why the YouTube video. Was you talk about TikTok and lighting and what's going on here? So I was grateful. I was grateful for my colleague who helped me move. I was grateful for my pickup truck that was helping me get stuff around. I was grateful for finding a place. I mean, I didn't know if it was going to be in one night or a week or whatever, but I had so much gratitude because I was looking hard. And at the same time, I wasn't looking hard because I was already in the movement. I already understood the power of gratitude and, the power of JD, as I call him. Call my source. He's JD. He's like JD. Yo, JD, what up? I wake up in the morning. Hey, JD, thanks. So, yeah. So this quote, if you look, you'll find something, and I really hope that many of you understand that. So, without further ado, we've gone to 1 hour, which means that we need to conclude this first episode because this is episode number 7. So I want to finish off, first of all, with saying thank you. Hey, Cujo, welcome. Stick around. I mean, I know I'm closing this in terms of, my YouTube channel, but I'll be back on in less than 2 minutes here. So I just want to say before I take off for those of you listening on YouTube that I want to thank you all. I'm getting more and more comments. Part of my restructuring is also based on some of the comments that I got. You guys are giving me, gasoline and good words of advice. So I want to thank you all. And I want to finish with this. If you're going to do it well, do it for yourself. Do it respect for all. And do it with the intention of love. Thank you, folks. I'm your host, Phoenix. We'll be back on episode 8. Not too sure what there's going to be. There could be a saw, there could be a drawing, there could be spaceships. We'll figure it out. On that note, I was really happy to be here. Have a great week. And make sure you like and share, because every like and share, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on whatever's left, I think we're shooting also for Spotify. I'm gonna ask a good friend of mine, Frank. You see him every now and then. How do I get onto Spotify? Because I think there's something there for everyone. Hey, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.